So, hi everyone. My name is Federico, and this is Cuttle's weekly live stream. And for today, I prepared something a little more experimental. I don't think I've done something like this before, but hopefully it has some like interesting tips and tricks for using repeat modifiers and or a few other things. We'll be using like masking and repeats. The idea for these came to me because I was browsing books at the library, and I found this book. This author, Hajime Ouchi, and it's called Japanese Optical and Geometrical Art, and it's one of these kind of like copyright-free designs, and the book is really just a bunch of kind of random designs. Like there is no text at all. It's just like kind of design ideas. And I was looking through it, and then I started having these ideas for like how I could do different things using Cuttle. And so like each one of them became like a little like problem-solving thing for me, where I'd be like, oh, how would I accomplish that particular effect? And so the idea came to me, and so I started like sketching out like different versions of these things, and I sort of came up with like different like ways of doing different ones. So I think my plan is to kind of like look through it and then make them in Cuttle, and hopefully there are going to be some tips that I can share. I think this could be useful for making like patterns that you would like engrave on your designs. Or just to like dive deeper into like Cuttle modifiers. So I'm gonna start flipping through them, and then I'll choose some. I think it starts with like some degree of complexity, but let's jump into it. Like I think this one is fairly approachable. So I'm gonna start with that one. So let me move over to the desktop over here. I actually try to make these. There we go. So I could have like the reference here on the right. So we could like check it out. So I'm gonna close these. Close that. So I have this blank project over here, and I think I'm gonna try and make all the designs about 4 inches. And for each design, I think I'm gonna just name the component with the page number, so maybe you can like reference it later. So all right, so I'm gonna make a circle that is 4 inches. Let me enable the geometry snapping, so it snaps to the origin. Let's make it 4, and this is just to give me like a sort of general guide. And so this design has, if I count, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it has 8 arms. So I'm going to start with a simple line. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to aim for 4 inches at the end, or roughly. So I'm going to make a line, and I'm going to change the stroke color, so it's not a hairline. There we go. So it has 8 arms. That means 8 repetitions. So I'm going to do like a rotational repeat. So there we go. We got 8. Let me change it to 8 over here. So I feel like with this one, this is the one where like this is the one design where I'm gonna use a component. So I'm gonna flatten these so it just so the stroke turns into like an outline. So I'm gonna use this flatten modifier. And then for this one, I'm actually going to create a separate component so I can like drag my my sort of star. And so the thing I want to do with this star is I want to expand it. So I'm going to go to modify, expand, and actually, you know what? I want to turn. Let's see. So that star is kind of getting me this outline, but really, I want to outline the stroke of this expand so I can create the sort of outline on it. So let me outline the stroke. There we go. So that starts kind of getting me where I want. The reason I use a component for this one is that like I want to like place it again in the center. And then for this expand, I want the join to be miter. Anyway, for the outline stroke, the join to be miter. So it gets me like the pointy sections here, because you can see on my reference, these are pointy. And now this one has like 1 and 2. So I'm gonna duplicate this one, right click, duplicate, and this expand should be bigger. So let's duplicate this. And all right, so I think that's my first one. That's the first check. So I'm gonna rename these page 5. All right, let's do another one. So let's browse through the book, and I think this one is cool. This one lets me show you 2 things. So it lets me show you how to repeat the circles and then have to kind of create a mask. So let's do that one. So here's my reference. All right, so I'm gonna try and do again like a 4-inch kind of section. I don't know if this matters too much, but anyway, as you can see, this one has like an offset repeat. So I'm gonna start with a small circle. I place it like right here. Let's start it really small, 0.5. And then for most of these, I'm just gonna turn this stroke into not a hairline. So here's the trick. We wanna expand, you wanna create like a set of repeats where like it expands evenly, because I see that these lines are really even. So I'm gonna select it. And the trick here is to do the linear repeat. So you might be used to linear repeat because it creates kind of elements in line. So I can have as many repetitions in line. But you don't have to have all the repetitions completely in line. You can change the displacement even to 0. So all the repetitions are like kind of centering the same spot. But before I do that, what I want to do is customize each repetition. So when you customize the repetitions, you get this variable called rep. And then I can use that variable or that kind of parameter in any way that I want. And the way I'm going to use it is in scaling things. So here we go. If I scale the circle using the variable rep, you'll see that each subsequent circle or each new version is going to have the sizes that are determined by rep. So the first one is 0, so it's like doesn't exist. Then the next one is 1, which is this one here, 1 inch. The next one is 2 inches. The next one is 3 inches. The next one is 4 inches in diameter. And if I make them completely on the center, so there is no displacement, there's only scaling, that's how I start getting my kind of even scaling with this linear repeat. I'm going to be using this trick a few more times. So like, because I use rep straight up, it's scaling like 0, 1, 2, 3, but I can always like change the proportion. So for example, if I multiply that by 0.5, then the first one is 0, the second one is 1 times 0.5, so 0.5 in diameter. The next one is 2, which is 0.5 times 2, so it's 1 inch, and so on and so forth. So like what I get is that I can change the amount that it scales by multiplying it. And then I can just create this number, as many repetitions as I want. So that is how I obtained these kind of even repetitions. And so for my reference, after that, what I can do is like mask it with this like 4-inch circle. So I can grab my 4-inch circle right here, which is kind of hard to see, and I can move it. So if I move it down a bit to the place where it kind of crosses the first circle. So it's crossing the first circle, but then I need to fill it up. So let me just do as many repetitions here, and I'm gonna mask it. Usually the mask needs to be on top, the masking shape. So I'm just gonna do that. And I'm gonna select everything and hit mask. Close, very close. The only thing, the only thing is that, as you can see, the strokes have like rounded caps, because after the masking, the strokes get the default cap. So I think I want to flatten the stroke first before I mask it. So I can do that. I can just select these, go to modify, and then flatten it. And that way when I get back, then the cut is like fairly straight. All right, that was number 2. Maybe it's taking quite long. So that's page 6. Okay. Let's move over to the next one. So I'm seeing that I'm not going to be able to do as many as I wanted because I'm trying to explain them. But anyway, this one, I think I like this one because it has a rotational repeat, as we can see, and then it has this kind of like very specific shape. So the first thing I want to, the thing I see is that like, you know, it's a circle. You can see that this shape is a circle that is like touching itself, touching each edges to kind of create that. And this is like a triangle. And here I just want to know how many repetitions to match it. So I guess I'm going to count it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 24 repetitions. So that gives me the starting point to construct it. So let me get over here. So maybe I should make this 4-inch thing to a component, but it's fine. I'm gonna create my 4-inch guide. And so here's the idea. I grab a circle. I'm gonna place it on the edge. I know that I want 24 repetitions, so I'm gonna apply the rotational repeat, change the repetitions to 24. And as you can see, the circle is kind of overlapping too much, and I wanna scale it to the point where like it's just the edges of each circle is touching the next one over, so I can just scale it. So I'm gonna do that. There we go. So now, as you can see, each circle is like kind of touching the next one. So that circle could be, I could fill it with black. And now I want a triangle. I'm gonna start with like a straight up triangle. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna draw it with my pen tool. So something like these. And when I'm done, I'm gonna take that triangle and I'm gonna give it a black fill. So I also want to repeat that triangle 24 times. I suppose the easy way is to just hit it with another modifier. So rotational repeat 24 times. And so I'm getting there. Now I wanna give it like the twist. And so for the twist, I'm just gonna edit the paths. So I'm gonna double click into the triangle, and this gets me to the path editing mode where I can sort of bend the edges. So I'm gonna bend one edge, I'm gonna bend the other edge, and something like that. And then when I'm done, I can, I think the twist is more pronounced. So let me double click again into it and just like go for a more pronounced twist. Anyway, I think this could be, yeah, there you go. That's a real twist. There, so I think when I'm done, I can hide my guide. And for all of these, if you wanna like cut them, it's nice to apply a flatten at the end. So all the black gets joined. Do that. All right, cool. That one's done. I'm gonna, I guess I'm kind of doing a sort of speed run. So that's page 9. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We'll get to something like this here in a moment, but I want to try something less complex. So this one, a little similar to the one we did initially, but I have a trick up my sleeve. So let's try that one. Suppose I could. So this guy, new component, what page is that? That's page 15. So it starts with a cross. And I'm not gonna separate it into components. I'm just gonna start with the cross as is. So 4-inch guide. So to make a cross, I can take a line, change it to a non-hairline stroke. And then I can use the rotational repeat 4 times. That gives me a perfectly even cross. And then, should I flatten it? Oh, because the central cross is white. So yeah, here's the trick. I'm gonna flatten it. And then instead of, no, actually, I don't need to flatten it. Maybe I just outline the stroke. Yeah, no, I need to flatten it, sorry. So I want to use the stroke as the thing that gets, gets the, so the center is going to be just flat, but then it's going to have a stroke that is, sorry, I need to, after I flatten it, I need to group it so I can assign a stroke to it. And then I'm going to put that stroke on the outside of the shape. So, that's kind of hiding my reference is hiding it. So let me hide it here. So here on the alignment, I'm going to put it on the outside of the shape. So that gives me the first shape. And let me bring back my reference. And now I need to expand that multiple times. So if I expand it once, it can be like this, expand. And so that gives me the next one. But when I want to expand something multiple times, the first one I did, I just kind of dragged my component in place. But you can actually apply a repeat to the expand, which is weird. But like, let me show you. So if I apply a repeat modifier on top of these, just a linear repeat, you'll see that I got multiple copies of the same shape. But now, if I use the same trick I used before for scaling, but now instead for the expand. So I'm going to go to linear repeat, customize each repetition. So I get that rep option or variable. So now I'm going to apply it to the expand. I want to say that for each repetition, expand it a little bit more. So if I type rep here, you'll see that it expands it a whole lot more. But I want to apply, just a very small expand for each repetition. So I control it by, changing the proportion. And now I just need to make that displacement 0. So the expand is always like centered. So now I can go back to this shape. Actually, this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm just going to go by the look. So the difference here is that I want to just change how much the expand is a little bit. There we go. All right. I can get rid of my reference. And that one is done. I should have a little bell where I'm like, every time I'm done with one, I can hit the bell. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let me back to my overhead. This one is pretty similar. It's like it's like a linear repeat of this shape, but you move it up a tiny bit. But there is something, rotational repeat, 2 shapes. Like that's the way I start thinking about these things. I like this one. This one is weird. It's kind of interesting. So we have like this circle with some triangles around it, and then it kind of expands in such a way that it's actually not, it doesn't look even to me. So as you can see, like this distance here is a little bit smaller than the final distance. And how do we do this like not even expand? That's the trick I want to show you. So let's go over here. This is page, new component, page 20. I guess my 4-inch reference. 4 inches is because I think the default stroke kind of makes sense with that. So let me start with a very small circle, like 0.2 or something like that, 1/4 inch. I'm going to zoom into that. And so I want the number of rectangles that is, the number of triangles that is here. So I'm going to grab a tiny triangle, search for triangle here. place it here. That's small enough. So I need to count the number of triangles. I counted them beforehand. It's total 20. So I can repeat this triangle 20 times. So let's give it a black fill. And repeat it 20 times with the rotational repeat. So 20. So as you can see, the look of these triangles is that the base is kind of touching, at the bottom in kind of like a nice way. So I think I need to scale the triangle to the point where each one is just touching each other's corners like these. But if I leave it like these, I end up with it's close to a circle, but it's like a kind of jagged circle because the bases are straight. So the solution here for me was to take this base circle, give it a white fill, and then change the scale to the point where it kind of covers the base triangles. Let me put the circle on top. So it kind of covers the base triangles to give them that kind of rounded center. Oops. To give them that kind of rounded center. And then I just did a Boolean difference. The reason I'll show you what I did a Boolean difference. So now that I have this shape, I want to sort of scale it, but there's a faster way of doing it than the rotational repeat that I just showed you. And it's also uneven. So I'm going to use this one called the transform repeat. Transform repeat has a lot of fancy stuff going on. So the first thing we see with the transform repeat is that it's acting like a linear repeat because I can change the position here and it looks just like a linear repeat. But the beauty of this one is that it actually has a scale element. So I'm just going to make it uniform scale. So you can see that I can make it scale each successive copy by a certain amount. And that's exactly what I need because each successive circle on this one is scaling by a certain amount. So let me go back to no displacement. And now the thing I need to adjust is that it's scaled so the points of each triangle is touching the next one over. So something like that. And then let's make more repetitions until it gets to 4 inches. Now I can hide mine. So that's that one. Maybe this one has a black center, which is easy enough to do, but I'm going to call it done. I think this is good. So this one is rotational repeat plus transform repeat. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So there's a special trick I want to show you. And I guess that's going to be the last 5 minutes. I'm going to skip a few of the ones that I prepared. I like this one, like a fun rotational repeat, but it's very similar to the one, the other one we did before. So these, I like the look of these, but I have a special trick I need to show you. I think this is the base kind of interesting one. So let's create a new component. That was page 28. That's the name of my component. So here we go. I need this kind of neat sort of scallop shape. I'm just gonna make my own. So I'm gonna grab a circle and make it 4 inches so I can get a sense for. Oh yeah, I can just use the 4-inch circle for my. So that shape looks like the intersection between two circles. So to kind of get the intersection really nice, I can apply this mirror repeat. So now I can sort of move my circle until I get the sort of elegant shape here that I want. And so now I'm gonna just do modify intersection. So I get just that shape. So that's the intersection between the two circles, perfectly centered. And just to make things simple, I'm just gonna go to edit, and then there's an option down here called convert to paths. I'm blocking it with my, so this one. when you convert it to paths, you kind of destroy everything you have been doing before, but this is fine. So to get to this shape, what I can do is, count the number of repetitions. So this one is 1, 2, 3. It's 12. Give it a fill. And a rotational repeat, 12. But that makes it all black out. But what I really want is that these intersections become white. And so here's where I need to explain something. You have probably run into, actually, let's hide this one for a moment for my explanation. You probably run before into these compound paths. And what is a compound path? If you haven't run into them, it's fine, but let me explain it. So a compound path is something like this. Sometimes you have a path, and then there are like holes inside of that path. Something like this. And if you apply a fill, often you will see the holes inside of that path immediately. So you've probably seen like compound paths in like fonts, for example. Like if you go to, if you fill it, you'll see that each one of these letters has actually holes inside of them, because they are like compound paths. There's a way in which the program can tell what's inside and what's outside. And so if I take these two shapes and I give them a fill, they both turn into the same fill. So let me revert that. But if I select these two shapes and turn them into a compound path, I can go to Edit, and there's an option here that says Create Compound Path. Select that. You'll see that if I give it a fill now, the inside shape turns into a hole, kind of automatically. And the beauty about that is that now any inside shape is going to turn into a hole. So with Cuttle, I can keep on editing the compound paths. So I can see over here that they're named compound path, and that is composed by a number of shapes. So for example, if I double click into it, so I'm kind of editing that, and I add another circle inside, it also turns into a hole. But the cool thing about that is that if they are kind of overlapping like side, one part of the shape is inside and another part is outside. Like here, if I move this circle, you'll see that it uses this rule. Whatever is inside is a hole, whatever is outside it's not. And so we can exploit that with compound paths. And like the fun thing is that there is no limit almost to how many shapes can be there. So if I create another one, you see, if it's inside, it's a hole. If it's overlapping, this one is not. If it's overlapping multiples, then it uses like a good rule of like kind of in and out, in and out. So that's the trick. Let's go back to my previous shape. So now if I take these rotational repeat and I turn it into a compound path, let's select everything, go to Edit, Create Compound Path, and now I apply a fill. You'll see that wherever there is an overlap between the shapes, it turned into a white section. So that's how I get to this particular one, where I understand that the overlaps are turned into whites. I think this is the most fun trick I had planned for this. It probably took me a little bit to get there, but I hope we can use it. So I'm gonna try one last example because I was looking. It's probably gonna be a big jump. I was looking at some more fancy examples that were like catching my imagination. So I'm gonna jump all the way to, actually I have a marker here. So I was jumping to these because, as you can see, whatever is inside of the circle turned into, it kind of flipped the shapes and the colors. So the circles here are black, the circle here are white. Similarly here. So I think I want to replicate this one real fast because I just like that trick of the compound path. And because with Cuttle, these are dynamic, you can actually like, if I go here and I increase the number of repetitions, you'll see the compound pad is still acting, doing the like in and out situation. All right, so last one, fast. So the background is a pattern of circles. So I just need a circle. Let's make it like 0. Let's make a 1/4 inch circle. Give it a fill. Make it black. Then that's a simple tile repeat. So the displacement is going to be 0.25, yeah, 0.25, because that's the size of my circle. So now let's make a bunch of them. We're like 20 maybe. All right, so that gives me the pattern, right? I could probably find the center of this pattern if I group it. So because I created a group, now the center, it gives me the origin at the center. So I'm going to move it up to the center. All right, so now I can place the circle in the middle. So I can grab a circle, place it in the middle. Let's make it like 4 inches. And here's the magic trick. I just take that, I make it into a compound path, create compound path, give it a black fill, and then we have our like kind of quick optical art. So there are more tricks I can apply with these, which are fun. Like if you were to have like multiple circles in there, let's put that one in there. It's going to apply that rule again, where like the sort of inside outside, but it applies it like kind of sequentially. So, all right, cool. I know this was like a very nerdy one, but I hope it kind of got your imagination flowing, or gave you some ideas about how to use the repeat modifiers, and maybe a little understanding on the compound path. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and thank you for like supporting my nerdy endeavors. So I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.